Democrats who are concerned about your poll numbers?
My poll numbers, the last 5 polls you guys don't report, I'm winning. 5 in a row.
Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. Today we will be talking about Biden's approval rating, how he's doing on most of the major issues, and how that reflects in the general election polling. So yeah, let's get into that. So Biden, he has really never been doing well in terms of job approval. I mean, he has been in the red for quite a while. We're pushing like 3 years at this point where he has been massively disapproved. He's at an all-time high ever since about 2 years ago, so that's not good at all. And really, nothing looks like it's getting better. He's still widely disapproved in terms of generally. When it comes to the economy, he's also disapproved. He's down 17 points. Foreign policy is also pretty bad, but at least it's a little bit better because you got a lot of the Israel supporters, but again, 22.4, that's also not good. Inflation is a big one. Inflation, he is massively disapproved. Almost 27 points on that one, and that is not good whatsoever. If you are disapproved on inflation by that much, I mean, you're blowing Jimmy Carter out of the water, and he's known for inflation and all that crap. You're making Jimmy Carter look like the most popular guy known to man, and that's basically what Joe Biden is. He's the new Jimmy Carter. He is wildly disapproved. He pretty much fails on every single major issue, and he's a Democrat, and nobody likes him. So, not saying that 2024 is going to be like 1980, but it kind of looks like it's going to be that. And it's not going to be like a complete blowout like 1980. I think the country is way too divided and polarized for that to even have a shot at happening. I mean, 400 electoral votes, that's not being reached anytime soon. You would have to have not only massive disapproval, but enough disapproval that can overcome polarization. So even with Joe Biden being this hated, you're not going to get like beyond 330 at most. You might get into like the high 300s, but outside of that, you're not getting any of that. But when it comes to the other issues like crime, which is also a pretty big one, 17 points. That isn't good, but I mean, compared to most of the other stuff, it might as well be his savior. Immigration, another big one, because a lot of people are very, very mad at him over this, and this is probably his worst one. Almost 36 points, where you have 30% approval on immigration. That is terrible, especially since immigration is a very big issue. Ukraine, that's a pretty minor issue, and that seems to be the only thing that he's maybe passable on. I mean, 7.6, but again, no one is really marking Ukraine as their top priority for the election. What most people care about and what most people are basing their vote on is, how is my money doing? How is my country doing? And are we at threat of war? Ukraine is not on that list. It's basically, how much is my money valued and what is inflation doing? Is it safe to walk outside, and also does my government actually care about me? And Joe Biden, he loses on inflation, he loses on the economy, he loses on corruption, even though that's not a poll, but again, he's pretty disapproved on that. He's seen as pretty corrupt. And he loses on crime because, again, he doesn't feel like enforcing immigration laws. Why enforce actual laws? Not that illegal immigration isn't a law, but again, crime, it's going up. Immigration, it's going up. Inflation, it's going up. All these things are biting him in the ass, and he doesn't seem to actually want to address it. He just kind of wants to blame everyone. Again, with the state, the speech, the the State of the Union. Sorry, the State of the Union tonight was not good at all. He didn't have anything to tout as an accomplishment outside of like, I don't know, junk fees and all that shit, but he can just either lie about it or just blame everyone for his problems. So the border, he just blames Republicans. Immigration, every single inflation, the economy, foreign policy, he just blames Republicans and calls half of them extremists. And that is not going to be a good thing. Abortion, he's also trying to run on that, but I mean, he doesn't really have that much of a lead when it comes to abortion because Trump isn't going like the full, oh, I'm gonna ban all of it instantly, where like you can rally people around abortion. You can't do that this election because Trump knows that if he does that, then there's a potential that Joe Biden can just use the issue to win a second term. So really, he has nothing. Ukraine is his best shot, but again, no one is putting that as their top issue. Direction of the country, he also really sucks at doing that. Where most people, they do not like the place where the country is and where it's going. It is massively on the wrong track, and that's reflected in polling. Many people do not support his policies, and many people do not support the fact that he keeps lying to them and saying, oh, the country is doing great, the economy is doing great, the border isn't an issue. He even had to admit that the border was an issue and start trying to sort of rebuild the wall, but not really, where he proposes a deal to Congress where essentially the border gets maybe $5 and piece of gum, while most of the money goes to Ukraine and Israel, which obviously didn't get signed. So during the Super Bowl, they just walk into Congress and they're like, "Hey, you know that bill that has the $5 and a piece of gum for the border? Yeah, we're just gonna write that out, and it's only going to be the Ukraine funding bill." So they passed that, and what do you think is going to happen? Oh, of course, the people are insulted that they just went behind their backs and just passed a bill for absolutely no reason that is essentially just a Ukraine funding bill. So, Joe Biden, he doesn't do well on any issue. Ukraine, kinda, but again, he's still disapproved on that, so he can't really run on that. It's pretty much just abortion, but you can't run on that because your opponent needs to be a hardliner on abortion, but Trump generally doesn't act as a hardliner on abortion. His views might be, I support the right to life and all that stuff, but he's not like actively spouting out, hey, I'm gonna ban every single abortion on day one, because that's just political suicide. You can't do that. Otherwise, you're giving your opponent something to run on. And Joe Biden, if he has nothing to run on, he is likely to lose. And that's reflected in polling, where Trump, he has done terribly in every single presidential poll from 2016 to early last year. Basically, he has never been up in the polls or like generally up in the polls. I think he was up for maybe 2 weeks during 2016, and 2020 he was never even close. The closest he got was maybe 3 points away from Biden, but I mean, it's not that good. But Trump still won 2016 and nearly lost 2020. And really, if he is down in the polls, it doesn't really say anything about if he can win or not. He needs to be massively down in the polls, and it needs to be consistent for Biden to even have a chance, and that is just not being shown. Trump is actually beating him in the polls, and he's been beating him for quite a while. For about the past year, he's been beating him in the polls, and generally that doesn't look like it's going to change. Joe Biden has actually rarely been up in the polls for a couple of months now, and you have this long stretch of time where Biden isn't really up in the polls, and Trump is beating him by about 2 points, which, if you apply the polling error that would happen during 2016 and 2020 with Trump, then you would have Trump winning the popular vote by almost 7 points. And that is not a good sign for Biden because if Trump wins the popular vote, he wins the Electoral College outright. He doesn't need to win the popular vote, but if he does, it's pretty much a seal on the deal that he won the Electoral College. Biden, he needs to win the popular vote to even have a shot at winning the Electoral College. And if this stays true and Trump actually wins the popular vote, it's Jover. It's all Jover. And if Biden loses the popular vote, he's definitely losing the Electoral College. Even if he wins it by like 2 to 3 points, he still loses the Electoral College because the election, if Joe Biden wins the popular vote by a couple of points, will be decided in the swing states by a couple thousand votes. And if Joe Biden is winning the popular vote by a couple of points, even if he has that, Trump still gets those couple thousand votes that he needs to win the swing states because North Carolina, he's pretty much got locked in. For some reason, Joe Biden pulled resources out of Georgia to go focus on Florida, which, why? Why would you take resources out of a swing state to focus on an emerging red state? That's just dumb. So, pretty much he lost Georgia already. Wisconsin, that looks like it's going to go to Trump by around North Carolina margins. So, really, he needs to keep every single state that Trump has been basically locked in. But Nevada also looks like it's going to go to Trump. So, basically, he needs to hold on to Arizona, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and he needs to lock that in if he wants any chance of winning a second term. But really, there's still swing states. Best bet is that he wins Michigan, but again, Trump has that appeal where he can win states like Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania and make them more red. But Joe, he doesn't really have that. Scranton Joe, that doesn't work anymore because he's pretty much a Delawarean at heart, and he can't just lie and say, "Oh yeah, I'm actually from Pennsylvania. I'm a big Pennsylvania guy. My dad, he loves Pennsylvania. Go Pennsylvania, let's go." He can't do that anymore. He can't say, "Oh, I'm just old Scran Joe. I'm like your friendly old grandpa." He can't do that anymore because people know what he does as president, and his policies are not really that popular in the Midwest and with a lot of these union voters, which, again, Trump is doing wildly well with a lot of former Biden voters, especially the unions, Hispanics, Asians, kinda, but and blacks. If he does better with those groups on top of cementing his hold over the white working class vote, then it's done. It's all Jover for Joe Biden because once he gets those votes, he pretty much wins all the states that he needs to win to get that 270 and become president again. So Joe Biden, he's not looking too good right now, and the State of the Union is not going to change anything. If anything, it's going to ruin his poll numbers because people are just going to see, yeah, nothing changed. He's still yelling at everyone and essentially just taking up the strategy of the basket of deplorables line, which last time I checked, that didn't turn out too well. So overall, Joe Biden, he's just running his campaign very bad, and he really has nothing to brag about. So yeah, if you think Joe Biden's going to win the presidential election, leave it in the comments below. If you think Trump is actually going to win, leave it in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.